ABC News reported today that 5 leaders of the New York City Mafia are about to be indicted on racketeering and other charges. This Jaguar automobile, used by one of the Mafia chieftains, reportedly, gave investigators their big break. They planted a microphone inside and taped conversations about Mafia business for 3 months. Word is indictments will be handed down against the leaders of New York's 5 major crime families believed responsible for most of New York City's organized crime. A federal grand jury is now reportedly listening to hours of those Mafia tapes.
Watch the car behind you.
What do you think about all this? What do you think the verdict's going to be?
Don't know the first thing about it.
You don't...
That is him. Tony, across the street. Oh, hurry up. What are we gonna do? Hey, what are you getting fucking angry? What is it? Tony. Why not? Tell me, can you tell us when
Yeah. It's still on, they had 4 people, they're on number 3. Ben, they, go and do things like posting bonds and all that. If I had to make a guess, I'd say should be out in about 30 minutes. Castellano is the first. He's at $4 million bail. I represent Tony Salerno. The government asked for $4 million bail. The judge cut it in half. And he should make that and be out shortly. But shortly can be a half hour. Will they all come out at the same time? I doubt it. Right, and sign the bail bond and usual stuff. I just don't have a prayer. It's the only way I know to. It's the only way I know to get out. So,
Where is the?
Huh? Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know who I am. Who are you? I don't even know who are you. I'm an attorney. I'm not a guy. Just take it easy. Come on. It's now 5, probably over 3.
State has brought these charges 7-8 months ago, examined the charges, and the judges over there in the state court released these men on $10,000 bail and paroled them in their own custody with all of these tapes until they could make that $10,000 bail. So that puts it in perspective, I think.
They all got promoted.
You say these allegations have been floating around for years. You say there's no substance at all to these allegations? There is no Cosa Nostra?
I have listened to charged here, haven't been in that car at all, so I don't know where he gets his information from about that. I can't speak to it. My client was riding around in that car, and there wasn't one word that came out of his mouth that indicated any activity on his part of a criminal nature. A lot of good radio music, a lot of great radio music, and WINS News was played all the time, and one of the music stations was played all the time, but not all that much about criminal conduct, I'll tell you that. We can't find it.
What about the allegation itself? I mean, he says, Mr. Giuliani says he has thousands.
Mr. Giuliani drew this. He has thousands and thousands of hours, and it reminds me of a man who said, I have a list with thousands and thousands of names, and nothing ever came of that if you remember your history in the 1950s. You read this indictment, it says, in the year 1900. My client wasn't even born then, but yet Mr. Giuliani's going to go back. If he has to go back that far to make an allegation that something's really radically wrong, let's talk about now. And the only thing that I can talk about now with my client is that he's supposed to be in Westchester Square Hospital getting a CAT scan because he has serious cancer that he had one operation for already and will probably die before this case is over. And if I can excuse myself, I'd really like to talk to my client's wife and daughter. I promised them I would call as soon as I get out. So if you'll excuse me, let me go. Thank you.
These gentlemen have a right to come forward and fight their cases appropriately in their lawyers' offices rather than from federal penitentiaries. The period of pretrial defense is absolutely
Where are you? Which one's your
Mr. Della Croce and Mr. Scopo.
There are a lot of comments that the people that are in the hospital aren't really sick.
Scopo has been hospitalized recently. He's got a severe heart condition, and there's no fooling around. The FBI wouldn't take these men to the hospital unless they reasonably believed that they were quite ill. Mr. Scopo and Mr. Della Croce did not check into the hospital. They were taken from the hospital from their homes.
It's the U.S. attorney that's kind of making the insinuation that no one's really sick.
No, I don't think that's the indication that he made. He had indicated that some other people had checked themselves into hospitals, but the defendants that I represent were taken to the hospital by the FBI. I think they used absolutely good judgment in doing that.
The charges in general, there's this commission that
hopefully by Thursday. Mr. Della Croce and Mr. Scopo.
Mr. Slotnick, what do you think of the indictment against your clients and the other 7 defendants?
Well, my clients...
The commission, it charges a series of violent crimes and a series of extortions.
It appears that the indictment is a rehash of some old books that have been around for a while, which have now been formalized into criminal charges. I think the government will be very hard-pressed to prove this before a fair and impartial jury, and I think ultimately my clients will be walking down that courthouse steps free.
What do you mean, some old books?
I think there's a book written by Mr. Bonanno and a book written by James the Weasel Fradiano in which they discuss all of these alleged organizations and all of the subchapters involving these alleged organizations. Certainly, these books have been around for several years and these indictments are brand new.
What about all the hours of tape recordings and everything else that the government says it has?
I guess we've got to listen to them to find out exactly what they say. I've heard the government make allegations of things that are in tape recordings, and when I put them on my tape recorder, I feel like I'm listening to different tapes.
Obviously, the judge agrees there must be something to it with the size of the bail.
The judge's bail is beyond my comment at this time, beyond my understanding, beyond my comprehension. I certainly am not going to criticize him for it, but these bails are astronomical and I think totally unfair. Thank you.
Camera shot. Don't drop your camera. Whoa.
Just one question.
What is that?
That was fun.
Okay. Your car here, Tony. Get the car, man. Let's go. Hey. Watch out, man. Watch out, man. Let's fuck out the way. You can't get in your car, man. Get in your car, man. Where's our car? Where's our car, man? Where's his car at? What car is it? Westchester. Where's Westchester? Westchester's back there. Last car.
Just don't make it. You know, I'm telling you, just don't.
Let's go, man. Buddy? Yeah. Look, we just go in that one. Hey, don't say nothing. Let's go in that one. Yeah, that's right. Rock's the second car.
Where do these drivers? Aren't they supposed to do the right thing? Nobody.
Andy Russo just made his other son, the youngest one. Boy, I guess on the last, recently, I don't know when, I mean, you know, in the last year, yeah, he made his two sons. So they'll make him kill? No, not now. I mean, not my thinking right now is no. Might change 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but right now my thinking is no. If the life was good enough for you, and the life was good enough for you, pointed there, and for me, if we really believe in it, why wouldn't we want our son? If I were a doctor, I would be saying to my son, since he's a little kid, you're going to be a doctor. If I was a lawyer, I would be looking for my son to be a lawyer. So they must feel that if this life was good enough for me, I want it for my son also. Otherwise, we're really saying that this fucking life is no fucking good for the birds, right?
He picked up on one job. Well, it seems that he don't want. He says that Cody is making a beef and complaining about that because that was theirs. Let him go complain to Fat Cody. He says this was theirs. This is the carpenter. Let him go complain to Fat Cody. Listen to me, please. I'm listening to you. He's got to go complain to Fat Cody. What the fuck has he got to do with carpenters?
This is what I'm looking for, you see. Let's designate somebody for that office. You follow what I'm bringing up? Yeah. We want to put a delegate. That it's our union. Not that it's Jimmy Brown's union, not that it's Paul Castellano's union. It's theirs and ours. Now, let's take somebody, let's take a son, a son-in-law, somebody, put them into the office. They got a job. Let's take somebody's daughter, whatever. She's the secretary. Let's staff it with our people. So that means he was even saying about a commission. He was admitting that there was a commission. He did. And like what's his name? He's on the TV. He didn't call it. He just says, I'm a father of a family.
I wouldn't be any fucking plainer than I was with some of these guys because I don't want nobody coming to them. And they're fucking around. Anybody fucking around with junkies, they gotta get killed. That's all. Fuck this shit. You cannot be in a narcotic dealer sitting food on your fucking stomach. And then part of the time that you gotta be exposed to it. You gotta go out in the street. You got to sell it. You can't be in the drug business without going in the fucking street and sell this cocksucking shit. We should kill them. We should have some examples. Alright? Alright.
Listen, I could give you guys $500,000 a year without a problem.